And I will keep hitting and answering all your little questions here. But that is one period of time when they thought they should have had their New World Order, and they didn't. They didn't. And they had a lot more going for them than they do now. Yes, they did. And afterwards, of course, they got the Iraq War. You got the Iraq War, and Saddam Hussein invades Kuwait, and then, of course, you have the rise of China. Not incidental that this happened after they thought they had a New World Order and they didn't have one. And these are very sensitive topics around this group. So if you work around a Jew and they're on your nerves, and maybe it's a wealthy Jew or a Jew rabbit in the know, them especially are very sensitive to this. If they know you're racially conscious or maybe an anti-Semite, they may prod you with different comments and stuff like that, or where's your race war or something like that. Always ask them, where's your New World Order? And you will see exactly what I mean. This is a very sensitive issue. That's their Achilles heel. They're more sensitive to that than outright anti-Semitism, than outright Holocaust denial. They're more sensitive to not having their New World Order, because what I just told you is that you can have everything going for you for 4,000 years, but if you ain't got a New World Order and you're a pink rabbit, you got big problems on this planet. Ain't no going back. Ain't no going back. But we'll continue this Q&A, and I'll keep going over these news events. But hopefully that was somewhat entertaining. So don't be getting all worried and upset. There was a time when I was really worried and upset, because that's what white rabbits tend to do. All hope is lost. All hope is lost. And precisely when you say that, usually events are on track. That all hope will be anything but lost. If you're on a planet and you have white rabbits and they're not saying all hope is lost, run for it. Get off the planet, because something horrible is going to happen. But if you are on a planet where white rabbits are saying, all hope is lost, all hope is lost, you probably have everything won, you just haven't seen it yet. But that's what I've always concluded. And I'm speaking self-referentially, because I used to do that too, but going back in time and reading about this group and how they've been screwed over, and that's my little pink rabbits, that's what's happened. You've been hammered, and you don't even realize it. Many elements still don't get it. But this is going to be wildly entertaining, and hopefully not too many dead rabbits, because these groups are crazy. Yes, they are. But we'll keep going. I'm going to talk about, I'll answer all the questions about old Doc Farrell next. And in closing here, I don't want to stay on the Chinese thing all day, but by and large, it just came to my attention that Glenn Beck has went out of his way talking about the Chinese actually finding America, like the book 1421. It's a lot of partial truth and propaganda. China at one time did have big navies, and they did go around the world for an emperor, and then they went back home. Now, whether or not they originally found America, there's talk of ancient Europeans coming here, which is probably true. There's probably a lot of ancient people that came to America one way or shape and or form. Whether it be Hawaiians riding surfboards to California on an ancient tsunami or something. I'm sure you cook up some story, but the idea that Glenn Beck's doing this now is not coincidence. The idea that Glenn Beck went over the top, he's talked about the founding fathers being multiracialists, all kinds of goofy stuff. And now, of course, he's on the Chinese thing, talking about how the Chinese started the Renaissance in Europe. It is totally goofy and off the wall, but it's he doesn't say anything by accident. He's told what to say, by and large, or turned in a direction, and they just wind him up and let him go. It wouldn't surprise me if an alien jumps out of his chest, or if he's remote controlled from Israel or something. I don't know. The guy's insane. But this is Team Pink Rabbit gearing up and going for their agenda. It wouldn't surprise me if it starts out with China and Japan dumping our bonds or something like that. It'll start out with something crazy. I just don't know which extreme it'll go to. I don't know all their machinations. I just know the direction, and there's numerous different if-thens that come through my head at once. I'll know it when I see it. But they will start making moves, which they're doing within America, shaping the battlefield, and I think they have a limited window simply because of the financial problems they face. But there's not a problem that they'll look to, in these financial problems within America, they will look to exasperate and use them to their advantage one last time. And I don't know exactly the order of events or anything like that. We'll have to wait and see exactly when this war with Iran is going to. One morning they're going to start going at it. And I mean, they're really going to go at it. Now, whether there's a dust off in the Far East, I don't know. It really depends on stuff internal to China and what elements in China and Japan have planned, because they got something cooking. And it's quite clear that the Germans have things cooking and have had things cooking for a long, long time. So we will keep this process going. I'm just giving you a heads up on typically why they use world wars. World War I, it was very good for an internationalist agenda. It brought out the League of Nations. World War II was even better. It brought out the United Nations. World War III, they want to move their covert American, it's kind of an American empire into an outright global empire and take a seat at the head of the table. And all these other groups they do business with also want a seat at the table. Now, there are many other groups that have no interest in it. And we've talked about that 9 Ways to Sunday. But the Glenn Beck stuff is over the top, and I expect this type of thing to be going on now. In other words, Team Pink Rabbit is going to come out far and wide. Glenn Beck always talks about Soros. But in fact, by doing this, he's actually revealed himself to be on the same side. Because all these guys, even the head of Facebook, has a Chinese girlfriend. This little Jewish guy that runs Facebook, who, to me, doesn't, he's got like brown hair and big green eyes on the cover of, I think it's Time Magazine. Zuckerberg, or whatever his name is, he runs Facebook. He's got a Chinese girlfriend. The head of Fox News, Rupert Murdoch, had a Chinese wife and have Chinese children. George Soros was dating Chinese women for a while, trying to find a suitable Chinese mate. This is the direction they're going with this. I've talked about this new Eurasian thing. But the Asians don't want anything to do with the African component. So I don't know how this is going to work out within their side because, Steven Spielberg has adopted Africans. So I don't know exactly where they're going with this one. It should be rather entertaining. But moving right along, one last news piece, and this is the funniest thing I've seen lately. It talks about the foreign gifts piled up for Obama's. This is kind of out of left field, but it's so funny I gotta talk about it. Foreign gifts piled up for Obama's in first year. Now, if you give the president an expensive gift, like the Saudi, oh man, this guy's got some, the Taliban has a lot of expensive gifts. The Saudis give him over $190,000 in luxury bubbles. 2009. But generally they got to turn it over to the National Archives or something along those lines. They can't keep anything. But anyways, the Taliban has got a lot of different gifts. When it comes down to, Prime Minister Silvio Berlusconi gave him gifts worth like $33,000. All the heads of state give each other gifts. It's nothing new. The president of China gave, the Obamas a $20,000 silk embroidery of the first family. But the head of Saudi Arabia really leveled this guy with some gifts. I mean, I'll put up this news piece on the Twitter like I always do news pieces, and this is funny. The funniest thing on this is not that, Shimon Peres gave him a girl releasing doves worth $8,000. Pope Benedict gave him a decorative coin with the pontiff's profile and several books valued at $7,000. The funniest one is, down toward the bottom, you got the poor Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas, gave him about $500 in gifts and a $75 bottle of olive oil. But President Mahmoud Abbas doesn't have a whole lot to give. But the funniest one on here, the one that I just busted out laughing over, is Queen Elizabeth, the Queen of England. And this is funny. She gave President Obama a framed portrait of herself. I mean, here's this president. Here's the first mulatto president. He's getting gifts. He's getting all these, $20,000 in embroidery gifts, $20,000 embroidery gift from China. He's got his wife gets a $5,000 Christian Dior handbag from Nicolas Sarkozy. Gordon Brown gives him all kinds of special Winston Churchill stuff valued at $16,000. The Pope gives him all kinds of stuff. He gets over almost $200,000 worth of stuff from King Abdullah. And from the Queen of England, he gets a $700 or $800 portrait of her. Some people need to know their place in the universe. And the Queen has her way. The Queen gets points from me because some people are that arrogant. Yeah, this is the President of the United States, all presidents, by the way. It isn't just Taliban, but all presidents walk around the world and they get all these gifts unloaded on them that they have to turn over to the National Archives because you can't keep anything over like a few dollars. I don't know what it is, but they get to use it while they're in office and then turn over National Archives. But Queen Elizabeth gives him a picture of herself. And for one of the most arrogant people on earth, like the Taliban, that must be pretty humbling. It's kind of damn funny if you think about it. But I'll put this piece up. It's one of the funnier news pieces I've ever seen. What else do I want to say? Oh, I was talking about before about some of the crazy stuff that their New World Order is involved in, and I went over this before about chimeras, about animals. But nothing, to go off on a little tangent here, and there's something I told you I could point out to you. If any of you watch cartoons, and I've been doing my homework on a lot of cartoons because I have one under development, and in doing so, I watch Cartoon Network somewhat and finding out what these kids are looking at. And some of the stuff has kind of shocked me. Not that it's over the top, in your face, blatant, but it is kind of subversive. It's little things. And let me talk about two in general. There was a new cartoon called Generator Rex, R-E-X. And it's spelled just like it sounds, Generator Rex. It's about a young guy who has superpowers, which a lot of cartoons are about that. But the first episode was one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. Here is a young man on a planet, and the planet has only one. It comes out in the first little mini episode, only one pure human left. Everything on the planet was part animal. I mean, there's all kinds of white people and everything else, but everything's part animal. There's only one pure human left. Now, I'm talking about miscegenation. Beyond miscegenation, we're talking about blending animals and humans. It's very disturbing, very wild stuff. And that's Generator X, and they have some pretty subversive stuff where, I mean, that's one of the most subversive things I've ever heard of ever being put in a cartoon. You're talking about, making a plant, turning a whole entire planet, making all the humans part animals. And it's pretty bizarre. The opening episode it goes in some very, very bizarre areas. But that's how our enemy operates. So they don't, I'm kind of taken for task from the alternative news and research crowd to say, well, they're not just talking about blending humanity. And I went into that, though, in all fairness. But the first step is to kill our race, or to blend our race, or to have a totally chimerical humanity as the first step. And it has everything to do with our race for one reason or another. And it goes in some weird areas, but the stuff that they put out, the stuff that they put down the track in the media, and obviously if you're going to look to impress someone, you're going to look to impress kids first, and kids watch cartoons. That's common sense. And another one that is outright bizarre that I thought was odd, that's done by a black cartoonist, but you wouldn't know it by watching it, supported by our enemy, is Ben 10 Alien. Ben 10 Alien was an interesting one. I watched most of the first season. I watched the final episode, and I actually have it on, I have it recorded. It is, and I had to see it to believe it. But it is about, there's two groups going at it. There's Ben 10, and Ben 10 is defending Earth. And Ben 10 has this little comrade, this little alien that helps him out called Azimuth, or something like that. And he appears and reappears, and he's basically, his planet got annihilated by this group called the Hybrids. And the hybrids are considered the most purest race in the universe, or they think themselves as the purest race. They're presented as, holier than thou, racist and whatever. But they don't look anything like humans. But they are huge, they are extremely strong, and they have all kinds of technological superiority. But they destroyed Azimuth's planet. For what reason, we don't know, and they destroyed like 1 million other species for not being pure or something along those lines. So Ben 10, and Ben 10, of course, looks like a normal white rabbit. He looks like a normal white kid. In fact, him and his cousin, they look damn near perfect Aryan, if you will. But they are blended on some level. And in reality, you could have a white rabbit with part animal genes that ends up looking just like us. I mean, if you want to go down this road, you could really go down there. But little Azimuth is looking to get even with the hybrids, and all hell breaks loose on Earth. And the way they do it is they open up a big stargate. And into this jump gate, which little comrades of the hybrids are building. They can look just like any human, but they're out building a big jump gate or a stargate to bring the hybrids in so they can wreak havoc on Earth. And kill everything here, or totally redo the human race, or whatever it is they're doing. But it ends with Azimuth, they talk about all humanity